Jazz at Red Panda Reads and happy International Red Panda Day, everyone. Woo! I am super excited for today and for today's video. I have basically combined two of my favourite things, red pandas and books, into a Red Panda Book Tag. I really hope you enjoy this tag, but I also hope you learn a little bit about red pandas and why they're such important animals to support, because they are currently endangered. And before I actually start the tag, I want to give a massive shout out to the Red Panda Network, who are an incredible charity who work tirelessly to protect red pandas in the wild. And if you want to find out more about what they do or more about red pandas in general, I have left the link to the Red Panda Network in the description below, and click away once you've watched this video, of course. So let's get right into the Red Panda tag. Question 1. Red pandas are reddish orange, medium-sized mammals that live in South and Southeast Asia. And of course, they are incredibly cute. Name your favourite fictional animal companion. So there was an obvious choice for this for two reasons. And firstly, it is a wonderful animal companion. And the animal companion I went with is Pan from The Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. The Northern Lights is a fantastic fantasy novel for any age. It's about a young girl called Lyra who is brought up in Oxford University, and it is in a parallel world to what we know. And in this parallel universe, there are demons. And demons are basically creatures that can take the form of any animal, and every person is bonded to a demon, and Lyra's demon is called Pan. And when you reach a certain age, your demon will take the form of the animal it's going to stay as forever, which is kind of the animal that you and your demon have the greatest connection to. And the story follows young Lyra as she goes on her adventures to try and find out why children are going missing. So the reason I love Pan is not only is he such a caring and adorable sidekick, is there is actually a red panda called Pan near where I live. And the reason Pan has such a special place in my heart is Pan is the son of the first ever red panda I met, called Amber, which this little fluff ball is named after. And sadly, Amber isn't with us anymore, but she is the first red panda I ever saw at Birmingham Wildlife Park, and I just fell in love with red pandas, so she has a special place in my heart. Her son has a special place in my heart, and therefore I couldn't not choose Pan as the perfect animal companion. Question 2. Red pandas are endangered with less than 2,500 left in the wild. Name a book that's made you think differently about a serious issue. So I had to go with one of my top picks from 2021, and that is a non-fiction book, Lowborn by Kerry Hudson. This is a fantastic book which really opened my eyes of what it's like to grow up in poverty in the UK. Kerry Hudson spent her childhood going from town to town, trying to survive in a world which had been incredibly unfair to her because of the society we are living in. And this book is both her younger self and her adult self going back to those places she grew up in to see if they'd changed, and to kind of reflect on her upbringing and the effect it had on her emotionally. And it's quite a tough read at times, but it also makes you realise how little support and how the infrastructure really isn't there to support people living in a poor area, and it can actually be very hard to get out of poverty because you don't have the resources that more well-off people do have. And one of the bits that really hit me in this book is when she reaches an age where she suddenly realises she is poor and she doesn't have things that her friends have at school, and the responsibility she has compared to her classmates is massive. Really great book, really would recommend, especially if you live in the UK. Number 3, habitat loss is the greatest threat to red pandas. Name a book where a character is forced to leave their home. So I was torn between two books for this prompt, and my initial thought was the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. The reason I went for this book is it has been a few years since I read it, but in the beginning there is a big natural disaster and everyone is basically uprooted from their home and is desperately trying to survive. However, I wanted a book that had more obvious human involvement, because the reason red pandas are losing their habitat is hugely due to people cutting down trees. And therefore, I end up going with Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is a fantasy book about a young guy called Fitz, who is the bastard child of the prince of this realm, and he ends up growing up in the castle, being treated quite badly by a lot of his family members, and he also has this really cool magical ability where he can see through the eyes of animals. Again, another animal theme. And this ability is really stigmatized and he has to hide it. But the reason he gets uprooted from his home is in the very beginning, Fitz's grandfather on the maternal side, so the non-royal side, forces Fitz to leave his mother and makes the royal family take him, and that was pretty heartbreaking for his mother, and that basically is what led to his whole life change. Number 4. The Red Panda Network is an incredible charity that not only protects red pandas but tackles gender inequality in Nepal. Talk about a book that discusses gender. So I had to go with a book that has been discussed all over BookTube and I haven't actually talked about it before, and that is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This is a fantastic novel about a young trans guy who accidentally summons a ghost who then will not leave him, and he ends up helping the ghost find out how he died. And it's a wonderful book of friendship, of magic, of the challenges that people have if they don't conform to the right gender. And it was just such a joy to read. It was also great to read a book written by a trans author, which I haven't done before because I think it's very important to read books from through the lens of different people with a diversity of backgrounds. Within this book, our main character Yadriel has a lot of difficulty being accepted as a guy in the world that he lives in. Guys have one ability to summon the dead, whereas women are the ones who heal, and his family are very much not keen for him to start summoning the dead despite him being a guy, and that's why he goes off to prove he can do it. So I really loved this book, and it was very eye-opening to see the prejudices against people of different sexualities and different genders, and I would highly recommend reading it. Number 5. Firefox, the internet browser, is actually named after red pandas, and when it was originally started, they used to have a live feed of red pandas. Name a book that does something interesting with technology. So I decided to go with Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which is a book where a woman who is up in space is trying to terraform a new world for humans to live in, and she creates a virus to infect a group of monkeys who will initially go down to the world. However, something goes wrong and the virus ends up infecting spiders, and slowly over time the virus basically makes these spiders more intelligent, and as you go down the generations they start to create things, they create ways of communicating across long distances, they create whole cities, and it's incredibly interesting to see the different way spiders create technology to that of human and how they also respond to human technology. Throughout the story, you follow a spider called Portia, and every generation there is another Portia spider who you end up following, who is such a charming spider to get to know. And I think one of my favourite things has to be the way which they communicate, where we have phones, they use the vibration of webs to give signals and to talk, and it was just a really interesting and clever original sci-fi idea. Number 6, red pandas are one of the few mammals that walk down trees head first, hence they don't get stuck in them like cats. Name a fictional character who always walks head first straight into danger. So I am going with Alex Ryder from the Alex Ryder books by Anthony Horowitz. I recently listened to all of them for the first time, and yes, they are incredibly cheesy. Yes, Anthony Horowitz chooses very corny names for his villain, like Dr. Grimm. They changed it to Dr. Grime in the series, which was quite funny. But Alex Ryder is basically a young guy who his whole life without knowing is being trained to be a spy, and then when his uncle dies he ends up investigating his uncle's death and basically does end up becoming a spy. So he is a secret agent, he is a child secret agent, and it is a lot of fun, these books, and I would highly recommend them for both younger people and adults. Number 7, red pandas have a sweet tooth. What is your favourite sweet thing to drink or eat while reading? So I would always go with hot chocolate. You know, not just the kind of watered down hot chocolate, the type of hot chocolate that you make with cream and milk and have it simmering on the stove for about 5-10 minutes, and it's basically liquid melted chocolate and it's glorious. Oh. This isn't a hot chocolate at the moment. I didn't have the things to make one of these luxurious hot chocolates, but it is a peppermint tea and it is very comforting and very nice. Thank you, Dom, for this. Number 8, red pandas have pseudo thumbs, which is basically an extension of their wrist bone, which allows them to grab onto things such as their bamboo, which they love to eat. Name a book that you've had for years that you can't let go of. I went for a book which by far is not my favourite book in the world. I don't think it's amazingly written, I don't think it's amazingly groundbreaking, yet it brings me a lot of comfort, and that is The Truth About Forever by Sarah Dressen. I have had this book for years. I probably read it once a year. It's the type of book that if I just need to escape and not worry about anything, I can sit down, read it in a couple of hours, and I feel content. It is a young adult romance book about a young girl, Macy, whose father passes away, and she ends up trying to have everything in her life very controlled, very perfect, rather than grieving. And one summer when her boyfriend is away, she tells him she loves him, and her boyfriend is like, nah, you've gone too far, you've crossed the boundary, we need a break. And so she ends up feeling very alone, doing a job that she hates, until she meets a catering company where she starts working and she starts to find herself again and find the stuff that she loves. And of course she meets a guy and they become really good friends, and then they fall in love, and it's just a really sweet, lovely read. So this is my book that I won't let go of and just brings me a lot of joy. Number 9, there are actually 2 distinct species of red panda. I know, right? Name a duology that you love. So obvious choice for me at the moment is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is a fantasy series written by Leigh Bardugo about a group of young gang members who live in a very violent and dangerous city, and they are just desperately trying to survive. And in the first book they are basically hired for a heist job, and in the second book they are dealing with the results of that heist job. And the first book I was not convinced by, but the second book, oh, I am so glad I finished this series. And what makes this series so good is the character development and their relationships and the exploration behind what makes the characters act in a certain way, very much focusing on their background, the trauma they've had, the way they perceive themselves, and those characters facing that, overcoming it, and becoming ultimately better people or allowing themselves to heal. And it was a really great series. Loved the heist plot. It was a lot of fun and the characters are just a joy. And I do have a red panda somewhere, not with me, named after one of the characters. So I guess all there is left is number 10, tag some friends. So first of all, I want to tag 2 other people who I know also love red pandas, and that is Liv at Liv J Hooper and Aoife at Pretty Purple Polka Dots. Both of them are massive red panda fans, and I'd love to see you guys do this tag as well. I then want to go on and tag Katia at Read, Write, Create, Bridget at Books with Bridget, Robin at Robin Whiteman, Blake at Book Phenom, Sam at Griff Reads. I also wanted to tag Pay at Attention because I never know what he's going to do with tags, and I think it could be really fun. And of course, Jeremy Fee, because you know what, a little animated red panda could be, you know, super cute. So I'd love to see all of you guys do this tag, and I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed it. You've learned a little bit more about red pandas, and go forth and have a wonderful International Red Panda Day.